then, check out this next clip. So the next clip is basically the first kill discussion. Okay, so have a look at this.
I heard you were on fucking fire out there. Mark Lee came in, said you popped your cherry. Is that right?
There's a kid who barely had any hair on his balls. Mother gives him a grenade, sends him out there to kill Marines. Dude, that was evil like I've never seen before.
Yeah, but hey, man. You know that kid could have taken out like 10 fucking Marines, right?
Yeah, but I killed him.
You did your job. It's in the story.
Yeah, it's just not how I envisioned that first one to go down.
Okay, so what's important here is that the film starts in a way that is apparently, you would think that the way, if you're going to show somebody killing a child, a mother and a child, you would build up to it so that you're sympathetic to the person. You're like, well, that was justified. Or like, I know this is a good guy, and I know he wouldn't do wrong, which is sort of the way that Oliver Stone's Platoon operates, where the person is, Chris is sort of shown to you as an innocent at the beginning, and he slowly becomes hardened and roughened by the war until finally he's a killer. And you're like, okay, but you still are sympathetic to him because you've been on this fast journey with him. It's only like, I don't know, 120 minutes, but by the time you get to 120 minutes, you're like, yeah, that's okay with me, justified. But this starts the other way around. So what's going on here? The first thing you see him do is kill a woman and child. It's like, well, what's going on? And then he says, so you have the two snipers talking, the two people on the team talking, and one of them says, I heard you pop your cherry. And this is very common. This is how actually many of the sort of, especially the hardcore sort of special ops talk about killing somebody for the first time as being virginal. And so you're no longer a killing virgin, basically. And this is an intriguing thing because it really is, there is no particular moment of the loss of virginity for a man, in the sense that with a woman it may be sometimes the breaking of the hymen, which results in this spot of blood, which is like everybody's like, this is it, and that's the cherry, right? Is the blood produces this spot of blood, which means you had a virgin and all of that. Again, all of this patriarchal nonsense. It's just such utter crap about what virginity means and what purity is, and bullshit. Anyway, it's just it's so oppressive and it's disgusting. Anyway, but so here you take that same language and you apply it to killing somebody, which I always find incredibly offensive. But anyway, so he says, this is evil like I've never seen before, and the other guy's like, yeah, well, you did your job. So I think this is a very fair conversation in the sense that I think this is real, and it's realistic in terms of like when you read the stuff, you're like, people say this kind of thing, yeah, that sounds reasonable. And he's like, I just didn't want to go down that way, blah, blah, blah. So I think the reason that you're being shown this is you're going to start off with the worst thing you could possibly see, the death of a mother and child. And then it's going to get easier and easier, so that by the time you get to the end, you're completely sold on this guy because you started off with the worst thing. So after that, you're like, well, now you have to be shown that he's actually a decent human being. And, I mean, you're going to assume he is anyway because he looks like Bradley Cooper, who I think in just taking the role of this film has, in the same way that Tom Cruise had a great deal to, I think, atone for after making Top Gun. I think Bradley Cooper here has, as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, I don't really want to see any more Bradley Cooper films. It's like, no, screw you, Bradley Cooper. Okay, I think he's got enough money to last him for the rest of his life, and no, I'm not supporting that. Too bad, because he was not a bad actor. But no, not interested. So then we're going to get into this issue of like, so who is a decent human being? Because we're shown this, we think, well, is he decent? I mean, does a decent person do that? Well, he shows remorse. So you're like, okay, but this is, like, what's the context here? It's like, well, 9/11. You're like, yeah, but still. So there's a real strategy to showing you the toughest thing first, because you are going to start to forget it, and you're going to look, because he is one of us. You're going to look to see, well, what would make that happen? What would make him support that? Now, let's imagine that we had, say, a visible minority. Let's take somebody who looks like they're Middle Eastern, and show them killing a white mother and child, and think about whether or not you would have to work very hard to see them as being demons. You probably would arrive at that moment, pretty fast. So then how hard would you have to work to sort of redeem that person? Well, hard, right? I mean, you would have to really read that person into your culture and say he is actually one of us. This person is, although this was an ugly act, he is one of us. But with the white guy killing a couple of brown people, you're like, yeah, okay, it's probably justified. It's like, well, wait, let's see. So let me show you the next couple of clips. Actually, I'll show you 3 next clips. Okay.
Find this bitches in the back closet.
You're welcome, you're my guest.
How many more you have here?
But tell the soldiers to come in.
Yo, this Haji just wants us only here so he can blow us up. Go check his ass for a vest.
He knows we speak.
Who?
Please.
Who says talking about us?
Please come
Who
in.
knows we're
Please
talking?
come in.
Who?
El Gesam. He come. Very bad. Please.
This target secure?
Target secure.
Bring him in. Get your head down on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. D, take him down.
Got.
The baby's crying. I thought you were gonna get him. No, don't bother turning it off. I already watched it. I had to make sure you didn't have an Iraqi girlfriend sending you sexy videos.
That's a sniper recording his kills. That's Mustafa. He sells that shit on the street. Those are American soldiers.
That day that we were on the phone, was that him? Was it? Chris, just talk about it. You're not protecting me by not talking about it.
No, I don't want you getting that in your head.
No,
You
my
understand?
imagination is so much worse
No,
than
it's
anything
not.
you
They're
could tell me.
savages.
Chris,
Babe, they're fucking savages.
it's not about them. It's about us.
Okay, so these clips show you the warnings that we get about the butcher. And so in the Sheik's household, where the Chris Kyle character can barely hold himself from killing this father, then the Sheik warns him, there's this guy with a drill, who we of course will see. The butcher, as he's called. Now they're actually in Fallujah, and Fallujah was and returned to be basically a known Shia stronghold where the religious leaders preached the downfall of America. In other words, it was a known essentially center of enemies of the state. So the Marines go in at one point. They begin an assault on Fallujah, then they're pulled out. Then they plan, and then they go into Fallujah for a month and they shoot. And they're going house to house, street to street, and it takes a month for them to clear the whole, basically what they call a ghetto, which is really just a city. It's not a ghetto. So that's the context for the Battle of Fallujah. Okay, those are some of the issues. And then you see they're in Sadr City. This is SADR. This is Muqtada al-Sadr's basically stronghold. Again, a stronghold is probably a reasonable word here. And he was a young, charismatic religious leader. And the fear was that Sadr was going to take over from and remake Iraq into what looked like Iran. And there was a real fear that they were like, oh my God, what have we done? We killed Saddam, who was kind of holding things together. And now here's this guy who's a crazy Shia. And we're going to have a replica of Iran in Iraq. Oh no, you know. And so they were like, okay, we're going to have to go after him. But they knew that if they killed him, it would make him stronger, and there would be this massive uprising, and they wouldn't necessarily be able to overcome it. And so they were like, well, we better not kill Muqtada. Okay, so we're not going to do that. So here we are in Sadr City, and that's the background for that little thing. So when you see like the drill tortures and tortures with power tools, that actually happened. I mean, they found bodies. They would find bodies every night, Iraqi bodies, with drill holes, saw cuts, things where people had used power tools basically as torture weapons, usually cordless power tools, right? So you charge up a battery and then, okay, so and they parts of bodies. Okay, yeah, this stuff was all there. Well, but remember, I mean, who started the war, right? And it's like, oh, hold on a second. Yes, these people were doing these horrible things, but at the same time, somebody started the war here. Okay, so the body parts, basically, again, it's this thing of the Americans saying, well, who are these? These are not human beings. These are savages, and you will keep hearing this now. Through the film, they're just savages. They're savages, and they sort of, you kind of hear it every 5 or 6 minutes, basically, and then you get Mustafa's kill TV, and so here's the beginning of the war against Mustafa, and if fundamentally this is what the film will become. The film will become these two overlapping stories, one which is Chris and Taya's relationship, and the other which is Chris and Mustafa's relationship. And the relationship between Chris and Mustafa has got to end in one of them surviving. And I have the feeling that the relationship with Chris and Taya, that's also going to end with one of them surviving, and it's not going to be him, because she's shown to be such a nag and such a bitch. Basically, she's just so unpleasant, and she just so doesn't give a crap about what he's doing. He's obviously saving the country for her, And this last clip, and he says, they're fucking savages, and she says, it's about us, So it's like, what is this, a relationship movie or a combat movie? It's like, well, there's not a lot of difference between the two, and this, for me, it makes it even more obscene to take a film like this and somehow try to mix these two stories together. It's like, I'm sure that there were incredible pressures on the couple, as there always are when a soldier goes to war. Female, male, doesn't matter. But it's done so badly, and it's so melodramatic. And what's even more hilarious in this particular scene is the baby is so bad. This is the worst, and people agreed even at the time, this is the worst stunt baby you have ever seen. The way she's holding it, it's like, that isn't for real. I mean, you just know it's plastic, and I keep expecting her to sort of throw it up in the air and go, but Chris, she's so upset. So partly I wanted you to see this just because it's so laughably absurd. This kid that she's holding is like, she's holding it down here. It's like, even I, who have never raised a child, know that you don't hold a newborn like that, unless of course it's made of resin. In which case, like, do what you want. Hold it by its foot, because it doesn't actually have a foot. It's just a mold. Anyway, I just thought you'd enjoy seeing that.